Hello and welcome. This is episode 10 of the Dead Soon podcast. Um, this is, first of all, this is what my goal was for the year when I started this back in, I think it was late August. I made the goal 10 episodes, and that was kind of like my threshold to be like, if I do 10 and I enjoy it, then I'll like ramp this up and kind of step up just everything. Biggest thing being like getting microphones to be able to do interviews in person. But yeah, I guess like top line / life updates. First, if you're listening to this and you want to be on the podcast, feel free to let me know. I want to interview people, and I want to flex that muscle and work on it. So feel free to reach out if you have any ideas or you like things you want me to potentially talk about, or if you want to be an episode, just let me know. But yeah, this is episode 10. Feels good to accomplish my goal. I wanted to do it by the end of 2025, and I got 14 days left. So, yep, bonus days. Then I figure I always give a running update. So I've been injury free for now 4 weeks. Been able to do 20 miles a week. Been keeping it pretty light, and taking more off days than I would when I'm in training. And yeah, I think I just returned too fast, too intensely to running after the ultra. So I definitely need to be more disciplined with that, and like returning from injury, taking things really slow, even if I feel 100%. Then also, this is a habit that I picked up just when I was struggling with the injury. Been going to the gym for lifting consistently 3 times per week. I think I prefer so I don't really love the gym, but I found that I can be very obsessive, and I kind of need to either be 100% in something or 0% in. So I'm working on that balance thing, and with that, making it so I'm like the gym isn't my primary workout, but it's like a supplemental to help me with my running. So I'm gonna basically just trying to do it while not being too intense, and just kind of like maintaining and like slowly building muscle. Next, this is the end of my semester. I'm on winter break right now. Set some goals for winter break that I'll hopefully be able to accomplish. Yeah, it feels weird that this next semester will be my last one. Sometimes I still feel like I'm 16, and I'm 21 now, so yeah. And then it definitely is hard to get podcast episodes during school. Basically, I don't want to miss out on spending time with people, and I kind of have to balance running and schoolwork and friends and just like everything. So it ends up at the bottom of my priority list, which is fine, because obviously it's not my job, and there are more important things. But it definitely gets hard, especially, sometimes I'm just not feeling super inspired with it. So I think that's why I don't want to set any of my goals with this too high with like amount of episodes, because I never want to force myself to do an episode. I want to just do it when I'm enjoying it. That's my priority. But yeah, so this episode is going to be kind of reviewing 2024, going over my goals, because this is one of the first years where I set concrete goals. I kind of always feel like everyone always has like these New Year's resolutions and stuff. But yeah, this year I'll get into it more, but I kind of, the past 2 years I've set themes for the year, and then this year I set really, really concrete goals. But yeah, I'm going to do a little 2024 recap, just events that happened, and then I'll dive into more on that. So first key event was my marathon training. So last year, actually, beginning of 2024, I said I want to run a marathon this year. So I started training on January 1st. Made it kind of like that, like turning the page. And this was definitely like learning discipline, and because I was forcing myself early to wake up, and I realized that it does make me more productive and happier and healthier when I'm in training, as I'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, this marathon training, definitely, it was like an adjustment. It was including it on top of stuff that I was already doing. Luckily, I did have the downtime to be able to do it, and it was really just like I know I had the time in my schedule. I just had to be a little bit more disciplined and like go to bed a little bit earlier so that I could wake up at 6:30 to get my run in. And yeah, but it went well. My next event is was my spring break trip. Me and my friends drove down to North Carolina. It was super fun road trip. So long. We ended up in this like random town in North Carolina. Super fun. It kind of just showed me that like any location can be fun with the right people because like we were in the middle of nowhere. There was like nothing to do, but it was fun. It was awesome. The next event, so I went over on marathon training, then the actual marathon, which was in May. This was just like a lot of lessons on pain. My body gave out completely at like probably like mile 22 out of 26. Like both my calves froze up, cramped up, and my quads completely frozen. So it was just a death march. Like it was like trudging. My pace went to garbage, but obviously I wasn't. The biggest thing was I wasn't gonna quit at any point. Like I knew mentally that I'm going to do this. Even if I had to walk, but I didn't have to walk at all. It was just like very slow running at that point. Also taught me that pavement just sucks running. Sucks for running. It was brutal running on that. 26 miles on pavement is awful. So then my next event was beginning ultra marathon training. And this was, it was a little bit like in the making because I'd watched a lot of videos and I was very interested in ultra running as a concept. Biggest lesson here was like I'm at my best and most disciplined when I'm in training. I also do prefer ultra marathon because you don't have to care about pacing. It's less stressful. It's more of a mental battle than a physical battle. And I think I'm stronger mentally than I am physically when it comes to running. Like I can just kind of force myself to keep going. I just like not caring about pacing. This race was a 50 kilometers, so it's like 32 mile, like 5,500 to 6,000 feet of elevation, I believe, maybe 5,000 to 5,500. And it was in trails. It was like my pacing goal was 15 minutes per mile, which is not insane. I think I was in like the high 13s per mile by the end. I achieved my goal, which was sub 8 hours. But yeah, it was really like, it's like big picture. And I think a big thing is that it allows opportunity for mistakes in ultra because there's so much more time. But yeah, it was tough, the training, but it was fun. I'll get into the internship part and like that I was working full time basically. So I had an internship over the summer in the city. Super long commute. It was like 2.5 hour commute total each way. Luckily, it was 3 days per week in person and 2 days not, which was nice. But yeah, this kind of taught me that. So I barely had any downtime during especially those 3 days. I basically learned that I can make anything work if I love doing it. Like if I didn't love running, I wouldn't have been able to stomach all this. But my general schedule was like, I just kind of like inverted and treated those 3 days as kind of a weekend / rest day where I'd rest on one of those days. And then the other 2 days I would do short runs. Like I'd only have time for like 3 miles. And then the rest of the days I would just have to be really intense with. But it definitely also taught me that I don't want to, like for big picture career, I don't want to be commuting that far. I may have to early career. But yeah, it taught me that I can do something if I really enjoy it and I can not suffer through, but like, because I enjoyed the internship and I enjoyed the experience and I enjoyed being able to train. It was just a lot on my plate at once. Next, launching this podcast. It kind of came from, I've always wanted to start one, but this last inspiration was just like over the summer. I would have a lot of downtime in like the train and like a lot of downtime. A lot of train and then a lot of running. I would just kind of note down thoughts that I had about podcast ideas, and then it kind of hit a point where I was like, why am I not doing this? Like life is way too short. Then like that Steve Jobs quote that I go into on my first episode. Yeah, just like life's too short to be embarrassed and nothing really matters. So just kind of wanting to do what I enjoy and pursue something. And I'm trying it and I'm enjoying it right now, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be doing it for forever. It's going to be if as long as I enjoy it, I will keep doing it. That's the good part about this not being a job. Like, I'm not gonna hate this because I could just stop if I hate it. Next, Aruba did a family trip. I mean, this was just like very fun and awesome, and it was nice to see my parents so happy, and I know they wanted to do it for so long, and I'm glad that me and my brother were along for the journey. It was just awesome. Then running the actual ultra, this was like I don't know if this is the right thing, but like breaking through the glass ceiling kind of thing. It was like learning that I'm capable of much more than I think, because I ended it not feeling super wrecked. Like I felt beat, but I was like I I enjoy this, and it was extremely challenging, and I'm capable of more than I think. Because I felt better after that than I did after the marathon. Which, I mean, it was definitely a lesson. And I definitely just learned that I preferred the ultra, and it was better on my body. And my last event was Acadia trip. Went to Acadia National Park with my brother and some of my friends. I mean, it was very fun. Not like lessons to be learned here, but it's just like I really enjoy hiking, and I love being in nature. So yeah, I mean, those are my big things for that. And then, like I touched on at the beginning, this is 10 episodes done. This is my goal. So I'm just gonna kind of reevaluate, talk about my vision for the podcast. I'm gonna call all the episodes that I might end up doing one more by the end of this year. We'll see. But all the episodes in 2024, I'm treating as a kind of season one. And it's kind of, and then maybe it'll be every year is a different season. I don't think it's necessarily going to be like changing themes, but I hope that each year there's a real showing of like improvement and difference in the podcast. I also got a notification that I hit 100 total listens, which is awesome. Just cool. I mean, obviously it's not a million, but it's a start, and it's cool. Obviously I'm not doing this for the listens, for the clicks and stuff. It's just for me. But I did also like have like a part of my most recent, so I don't use Instagram a ton, but I decided to do like a kind of check in and just like dump a bunch of photos and stuff, and I put like, it wasn't like the primary reason for the post, but I put like just a screenshot of the podcast in it, because I just kind of wanted that to signify like I'm public about this, and if you're looking through my Instagram post, you'll find that out, and maybe you'll like it, and maybe someone found that post, is going to listen to this episode, and then they're going to be like, oh hey, I want to be on the podcast, maybe I want to try it. Like, I want it to be very open, and if you are that person, text me, because I don't have Instagram installed. I kind of just dropped a photo, read some comments, and then deleted it again. But yeah, so 2025, my vision, I want to do more interviews. I only did the interview with Lena so far. I mean, the episode with my girlfriend wasn't an interview. I mean, it was kind of an interview, but it was not as like, I'm gonna do another one with her eventually. That's gonna be an actual interview. But yeah, so I want to do more interviews. I want to do in-person interviews. Then episode-wise, I'm maybe aim for 20 episodes. I don't know if that's too high or too little. I was thinking of making it 26, so it's one every other week. I'm going to keep it at 20, because even if I get 15 done in the first half of the year, the second half of the year is just going to be much more busy, so it's going to be really on the back burner. Yeah, I mean, first half of the year I'll have more time. Second half I'll be starting career work, so probably less time. More time to brainstorm, but less time to record, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see what format. I'm kind of just, like I said, just letting this kind of end up how it ends up, and that's not putting a lot of pressure on myself with this, but I still like to have goals, as this episode is all about goals. I also want to get the podcast on Apple. I'm having a lot of trouble with it. There's like some glitches with just how Apple's podcast portal, whatever, works. It's annoying, but I'll figure it out. And then like marketing wise, I'm kind of going for that like word of mouth. And this was inspired from Cole Bennett, from Lyrical Lemonade. Would love to have him on. Just a super smart guy. If you don't know what Lyrical Lemonade is, look it up. It's awesome, his whole story. But he used stickers. It wasn't necessarily as I mean, I guess it falls under marketing, but he like made stickers when he first started the brand. And I just loved the idea of stickers, and so I'm gonna be handing them out. If you want any stickers, let me know. I ordered a bunch. Shout out to Devin for making the logo, my friend Devin. And yeah, just like I said, want to do interviews, want to start getting some video for episodes. At least for interviews, like I want to have video to then be able to upload to YouTube. I'm going to start with interviewing people that I know, hopefully some of my family members. I have an idea for a concept of a little mini series of interviewing family members. But yeah, just kind of flexing that muscle, like learning how to be better at it. Then maybe interview a professor or two. Yeah. Then when I have some more video content, this will probably be a later long-term project. But when I have video content, I want to get a TikTok account going. If anyone has expertise or knows about that, I'm not a TikTok person. But I mean, let me know. I mean, if you are interested, I don't know. Then long term. Oh, this is okay. New category, new section. So that was more talking about like vision for the podcast. And then this is just like a random thing that I noted down. So this episode is obviously about goal setting. I found this in a video. I don't know the guy who's speaking. If I do, I'll write it in the description and I'll link the video. But it was basically talking about how he does one hard thing every year. So you're kind of able to say, like, for example, in 2024, I did this. Just because, like, he talked about things get washed away. But you should at least have one thing that you can remember. He also talks about how, like every other month doing something challenging. I agree with all that, but I pulled this part because I felt like it was the most important. Basically, doing one big thing that defines your year. And then in addition to this, I set themes for every year. At least, I mean, I say every year, but I started doing it at the beginning of 2023. My 2023 theme was like learning to love myself, because I felt like I was in a spot of, or at least not, it doesn't have to necessarily be loving yourself, but like learning what I love and what I love to do. So it's kind of just exploring and saying yes to everything. So in 2023, I traveled the world and I learned more about myself. I studied abroad in Italy and Europe, and then I did a trip in Tanzania and Uganda. So thankful to my grandma for taking me and my brother on that trip. I learned a lot. I struggled with money, added stress to my life. It was challenging, but I made it through study abroad. Wouldn't change anything. I ran 540 miles in 2023. I discovered I love it. Kind of re-fell in love with it. I fought through an injury that stopped me from running for months, and then I finally buzzed my hair, which was freedom. Those are my little like bullets of the year. I guess if I don't need to like dive super deep into each of them, but like studying abroad was definitely independence, and it was learning. I mean, it was just like seeing more of the world. It was learning independence. It was spending time with friends and family. Money struggles, just kind of, it's stressful and it's real, and it's something that it's hard. I mean, it's hard to deal with money. Money's intimidating. Money's can be a little scary. But it's just kind of learning lessons, and it's better to learn these lessons younger in my life when I'm going to make the money back. Running wise, discovered I love it. Discovered it's a good like athletic output that doesn't stress me out, because like I talked about in my soccer episode, soccer really started to stress me out. But I get very like antsy if I can't do anything athletic, so it was good balance in between. Injury, something I still struggle with, but it's kind of like learning lessons with every injury. And I was talking to Lena about this, who I had in the last episode. She gave like an analogy of like kind of like learning to put the pieces back together. So like if you never get injured, then the one time you get injured, it'll be brutal. But if you get injured, every time you need to pull lessons from it and learn how to get yourself back together even quicker. And then buzzing my hair was awesome. It was something I always wanted to do. Gave me some freedom. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like just pulling the trigger and being like, does this really matter? Like, nobody really cares. So I just did it, and it was awesome. Then 2024, this is the bulk of the episode. The theme of this year was discipline, and primarily physical discipline is what my goal was. But yeah, and then if I'm using that format of like in 2024, blah blah blah. In 2024, I launched a podcast and I ran an ultra marathon, and also ran 1,500 miles, which is 1,000 more miles than last year. Yeah, I mean, I am proud of myself because I did things that I never thought I would do. was very like speaking it into existence and forcing myself to do it. But yeah, so at the beginning of 2024, I wrote out some goals, and some of them I wrote out actionable steps. Most of them I did. I'm gonna go through all those goals and talk about successes and failures, because I think it's good to reflect on our goals. And I like I've become I used to not enjoy the concept of like New Year's and New Year's resolutions. These aren't necessarily resolutions, but it's goals, and I like setting them at the beginning of the year and making a theme, so then I can kind of like chunk out each year. Like 2023, I learned so much more about myself, and then 2024 was kind of pushing my limits. And well, the podcast part wasn't even part of the goal, honestly. It falls under one, which I'll get into. But so my first goal was I will run a marathon, and this is I guess I'm like grading my goals. So here I would just give myself an A plus. I wrote success and beyond. My grading format was like saying success, failure, kind of success, blah blah blah. But I like the grading. I'll give myself an A plus for this one. My actionable step was create and follow a schedule. So I did that. I followed a schedule, and I made a plan, and it was a mix of online stuff, and I learned a lot. The plan wasn't great, but I followed it. I think I undertrained a little bit, wasn't fully prepared, but I did it and I accomplished the goal. And beyond here, because I ran the ultra marathon too. I didn't think that, who would have thought that I would have run a marathon and then literally like 2 weeks later sign up and start training for an ultra marathon. Yeah, I mean, running is a key part of my happiness. It itches a scratch of me wanting to be challenged while allowing me to set constraints and not be stressed. Really, really, this has become a cornerstone of my life. It's so important to me. It keeps me sane. Next, I wrote, I will drink less alcohol. I would also give myself an A plus on this one. My actionable step was kind of just only drink alcohol when you want to, and not feel like pressured. And my reflection here is like, I can go out with friends and I can not drink, or I can drink, especially when I'm in my training, later stages of training. It's best not to drink, and I think it's good because it gives me an excuse not to not to drink, because sometimes I just really don't want to, and I can just be like, oh, sorry, I'm training for a race, I can't drink right now. And I like, it's good. I mean, I don't love drinking. It can be fun sometimes, but a lot of the time it ends up just like I feel worse for it. But yeah, I would give myself an A plus here. Definitely was successful with that. Next, I wrote, and for number 3, I will simplify my life. So I gave myself like an abstract success. I would probably give myself like a B on this, because in some aspects I think I did great. My actionable step was owning less and getting rid of distractions. This is kind of an ongoing journey. It's not like you can just like this isn't like the marathon where it's like I'll run a marathon and then I ran it. Like there's no I am self-defining. The simplification for me, a big one was with clothes. I had like I just have these obsessive eras. I had an era of being obsessed with clothes, and like I was consuming too much and blah blah blah. But I ended up getting rid of a lot of clothes and kind of like solidifying like the items that I actually enjoy. And that was big for me. I mean, also just like getting rid of things that I don't like and don't really need. Learned this a lot from my parents recently, because they've been just trying to get rid of more stuff that like they'll never use. And whenever we move, we try to get rid of some stuff. So I mean, give myself a B because I think there could be better, but like it's also a little bit of an abstract goal. I don't love abstract goals, so that's why most of them aren't. My fourth one, now that I said not super actionable, but I said I will read more. This is like a decent goal, but it doesn't give me a super strict, like, I guess it's better because it's not like I'm like, I'll read 50 books in a year, like, because then I don't want it to ever be, I'm just reading to accomplish a goal. I want to read what I enjoy, and that's why my actionable step was read only what you enjoy. My reflection is just learning what I like. I love books about leaders, like presidents and business leaders. I've read a bunch of them. I took the History of the American Presidency course, but I also think it's okay to like be halfway through a book and then be like, I don't know why I'm reading this. So there's been times that I've done that, and that's fine. I started reading manga, which is fun. One of my roommates got me into it, Nick. I'm reading Hunter x Hunter. which has been nice. It's like a different kind of reading. I usually don't like. I mean, I'm a nonfiction guy, so it's nice to have something different. I also, my new favorite book slash movie, Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Love this movie. Love this book. Highly recommend. I listened to the audiobook. I'm gonna read the physical book also just because I liked it so much. I listened to the audiobook. I've watched the movie like 3 times. It's awesome. Waiting for a streaming platform to have it, so it doesn't have to be like you don't have to pay for it. But whatever. Yeah. So I think this is a decent goal. I think I'd give myself like an A- here, maybe a B plus in that range, just because it's hard for me to. Sometimes I just like don't want to read, but I think that's why it's good that now I have like I have my president. Like I'm currently reading a president book, a book about running, and the manga. So it's like I can switch between, and they're not very overlapped, so I can not get confused between them. I think is a good method. Um, Next, I wrote I will rarely use social media. I'd give myself an A to A plus here also. My actionable was just like stop doom scrolling. And then I ended up deleting social media fully from around May on. I even like got rid of like YouTube on my phone. Like I had nothing for a while. I have YouTube again on my phone. Like got it like a month and a half ago. But yeah, I mean my reflection here was just like less social media means less comparison, which is less need to share, which is less stress. It's kind of like when I didn't obviously like I wasn't super pressured to post, but like when I didn't feel the need to share anything, I felt like I could pursue whatever I wanted. I definitely have an obsessive personality, in the sense of like it's hard for me to. It's like 0 or 100 for me. So for me, it was just better to be 0. Um, I think other people are like would totally be fine just toning down usage or not. Like it's obviously whatever you want. If you get joy out of it and you genuinely feel like you're enjoying it, then all the more to you. Like it's awesome. I just felt like I wasn't getting a lot of joy out of it, and it would just like add stress to my life. I wouldn't give myself an A plus here. I guess I'd go A minus to A because the goal didn't say to use your phone less, but I guess it should have been hand in hand. My screen time definitely went down, but I kind of just like spent more time playing games. I enjoy it, and it is a good like break for everything. So I think it's so good. It's not like it's a bad thing to play games. But yeah, I mean, I should probably play less games on my phone, but I'm still giving myself a success here because I rarely used social media. Number 6, I'll budget my income and be more intentional with spending. I'm gonna give myself a B plus here. I definitely am better than I was last year, which is kind of all you can hope for. Uh, so my actionable step was save a percentage of money from each paycheck and have an I want list. First part of that, saving a percentage of the paycheck, I did good with that over the summer. Did amazing because it was very like I didn't have anywhere to spend the money. It was kind of just like, and a lot of my money was going towards transportation anyway. So it was very like put away this amount into my high yield savings, blah blah blah. Then the I want list thing is like I started doing this I think 2 years ago. It's like whenever I want something, I can be an impulsive person. So I would just like take a screenshot of it and add it to a folder, or I just started having like an I want list, which is like a running list. I would have like a short term, like it's like short term things and long term things. I can pull it up. Actually, no, I'm not gonna pull it up now. But basically, like I have like small things, and I'm like, oh, like this is cool, and and then it's kind of like having that list running to then wait for like a Christmas time or like birthday or like when I want to buy something for myself, I can be like, okay, this has been on my list forever. Let's reflect. Do I really want it? My reflection here for the paycheck thing and like budgeting, it's really easy. It was easy during the summer. It was really hard during school to stay budgeted because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like my senior year. I have to do this. I have to do that. So I definitely need to learn to say no to things more. I'm decent with this, but like I said, it's hard to. It's FOMO. It's real. Next, my number 7, I said I will experiment with new hobbies. I give myself a success here. I give myself an A plus. I really didn't have an actionable step here. It was kind of just like, I mean, this is a pretty broad thing. I didn't have the podcast thing written down. I didn't have like running specifically. I count running as a hobby, but I wasn't really exactly the hobby I was looking for. I was looking for like, I don't know, like there's hobbies like playing an instrument and blah blah blah. But my reflection here, so I launched the podcast. it's nice to have a creative outlet, and it's freeing and it's fun. It's nice to have something that like I can get like on my runs, or like when I'm showering, like a random thought will hit me, and I have a spot that I can note things down and be like, I'm working towards. Um, it's nice to have a creative outlet. I definitely think that it's awesome for anybody to have a creative outlet. It's always nice to have something that you're working towards. I also started watching anime. I started watching One Piece and Vinland Saga, and I started reading the Hunter x Hunter manga. I've liked it so far. I like it because I don't know if I talked about this in an episode, but I've been trying to watch less like depressing TV and like just like keep vibes positive. One Piece is like a perfect example of that because it's just like silly and fun, and it's like pirates, which I also love pirates. And then Vikings, I love Vikings, and that's what Vinland Saga is about, which is funny. But yeah, I mean, it's very like not real, which I like, and it's like kind of you can just escape into, and it's fun. It's silly. Then number 8, I will go to the gym at least twice a week. I'm gonna give this one just a straight up fail. Like give myself like a, I'll go. I mean, it's not an F because I'll talk about it, but like a C minus. I didn't really have an actionable step. I just don't love going to the gym, so it's hard for me to force myself. It's hard for me to force myself to do things that I don't like. But like during my injury, I kind of forced myself, and I found some enjoyment. I think my key here is just doing it 3 times per week instead of 0 times or 6 times. Like learning to be balanced about it and keeping it as like a supplement to my running that prevents injury, rather than like a, oh my gosh, I need to gain muscle and do all this blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't great with this past couple weeks. I've been really good. We'll see if that stays. I definitely want that to be a part of my 2025. Number 9, I'll eat less garbage. I'm gonna give myself a B plus to A minus here. So my actual step was just eating less junk and more fruit and vegetables. So during training, I do have the luxury of like I'm always in a calorie deficit, so any food is good. So I'm pretty successful with this, but like during school it does get tough. Just staying healthy and just like when I can just like buy snacks or like eat a burger on campus, whatever. I'm not really strict about like what meals I have, as long as they're like not insanely awful. But it's snacking that's definitely challenging for me. Number 10, make every day count. This is another abstract one. I'm gonna give myself an A minus here. I mean, the actual step was like every day isn't a guarantee. We'll all be dead soon. Like this is just a core part of the podcast, so I guess I'd give myself some bonus credit for starting the podcast and building it around this principle. Obviously, this is the most important one of all, so I give myself a decent success. I think I was pretty good at like making sure I'm doing things that I enjoy during the day, and like if I'm in a bad mood, like kind of just riding it out. And I learned that a lot of time I'm in a bad mood for like a day, and then I'm totally fine for weeks. Yeah, I think this is obviously, like I said, this is the most important thing. I have like future stressors, but like those things really don't matter because they don't exist right now. The present exists right now, so I just need to just kind of remind myself of that. I think if I was gonna get like a tattoo or something, or I like wanted like something that like on my phone background, or like just something that I'm like constantly reminded of, it would just like be present. But I'm not gonna get that as a tattoo because I can just think of it in my mind. Yeah, I think being present is so important. I've talked about this. I had a full episode on this. It's kind of the whole theme of this podcast is that life's too short and too precious to waste, like just thinking about stuff that doesn't matter. And yeah, those are all my goals. I think I did pretty good. This wasn't like me trying to brag. This is more like showing my process and like talking about what works and doesn't work, and not putting pressure on these goals, but keeping them in my mind. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like each year I want to pull learnings and add things to my life for the better. This year was the year of discipline for me, physical discipline. And I think I did great in that general theme. Like I ran the marathon and I ran an ultra marathon. I ran 1,500 miles. And then just like being present wise, I think I just did a lot better with this because I deleted social media. I did what I enjoyed. I ran a lot. I hung out with people I liked. I tried not to force myself to do stuff that I didn't want to do. And just trying to make every day count and not waste time, but also allow myself to relax. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what my goal was with this episode. I will make an episode about my 2025 goals and vision. I think next that'll probably be what I do next. I'm not sure. I'll definitely have an episode within the next couple weeks. Maybe I'll do an interview next. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned I have stickers for the podcast. If you want any, let me know. If you want to rep Dead Soon podcast, or you want to be on the episode, let me know. I'm all for it. I love talking to people. I'll talk about anything. I'll interview you. You can interview me. We can just talk. Totally sounds great. And then just my little closing. Every year that we all know every year goes so fast, and there always feels like there's not a lot of extra time. Obviously, I'm speaking on this from a point of privilege because I'm in college and I do have the extra time now, so it was easier for me to pursue these things, and I'm kind of more speaking to that audience. But I mean, if you're working full time, I know the years go even faster. The year went faster for me, and I was working during the summer, but then I'm a full time student and I'm working at school. But yeah, to me, it's if you want to make a change in your life, I wanted to be more physically fit and find something that I enjoy. It's kind of like forcing yourself to build out that intentional time. So if it's 30 minutes for a few days a week to run or to write or to take photos or to lift or to just pursue a hobby that have no expectation or money from, I think is important. It's kind of like the idea of if you never had to work another day in your life, what would you pursue? Or what would you do if you had the extra time? If you had a dedicated 1 hour that you had to pursue something, what would it be? I think it's important. I think it's good to get a break from stuff. And obviously, some people are too busy and it's hard. If it's 1 minute a day where you're thinking of something or imagining something or trying something, then that's still great too. I think it's a challenge, and but kind of just making sure you're doing something that you enjoy at least once a week would be great. But obviously, like I said, I'm speaking from a point of privilege, and it is hard. When I start my job this summer, it's going to be an adjustment. It's going to be probably a little bit challenging, but I did this with running, and I'm trying to get into more of this with the podcast. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm not sure if this will be the last episode of 2024. I might have another one. We'll see. I should be getting a microphone to be able to interview people with. It's an annoying process, but for Christmas, hopefully, and then I'll do some interviews over my break of my family members, hopefully, and anyone else if they want. And then hopefully interview maybe some of my favorite professors or just people at my school would be fun. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. Life is good. Life's great. I'm happy. And I hope if you're listening to this, you're happy too. I mean, if you remember one thing from this episode, just be present, enjoy where you're at, and I'm working on that whole being grateful and yeah, I mean that's what I'm focused on. This was the 10th episode, and I've achieved my goal of 10 episodes in 2024. So maybe this will be season 1 wrapped up. We'll see. I would probably consider this the end of season 1. But yeah, here's to 2025 being a great year and everyone accomplishing all their goals, and my podcast growing, and not necessarily growing in audience size. It's growing in what I'm the scope of everything, I would say. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, and thank you for listening, and that was episode 10.